My name is Karen Amat. I'm the founder of Social Behavior. We are a Houston based social media agency. We were the first agency of its kind to be formed in Houston. We are female founded and female powered, although we have some really great male talent working behind the scenes. My agency will celebrate 8 years in business next month. So we were very, very early to the social media game. I myself will go into a little bit of my background and kind of explain all the twists and turns that led me to social, but I'm still fascinated by it today. And social media is still evolving every single day. And so I'm still passionate about it. And absolutely love what I do. So, today I will be presenting to you guys just a really quick and easy social media masterclass and also kind of dabbling into the influencer marketing aspect of things, which is a very rapidly evolving social media category. Just to give you a little bit of background on me, I have 7 years of corporate experience. I'm from Texas, so naturally that's oil and gas. I got a lot of my fundamentals there. I went to the University of Houston, have a finance degree, so naturally now I'm a social media marketer. And with that, I leaped into marketing totally by casualty. I connected with a former boss and mentor of mine, and he convinced me to explore marketing in the membership services side of things. So I worked as a membership sales associate at a private country club. And this was very, very early on. I totally took a leap of faith. Like I mentioned, I left my corporate safe cush job and I started posting on Facebook and LinkedIn what I was doing through this country club and what I was doing, you know, with my new found career and my new membership sales career. And before I knew it, people were messaging me their credit card information over a LinkedIn DM because they wanted to join this club and this network. So it's a little bit elevated, not a golf country club. It was a private business social club with different experiences. So not your traditional country club, but I was documenting all of this on LinkedIn. And my boss approached me and he was like, "What are you doing? How are you getting all these signups?" And he then discovered that I was documenting everything on LinkedIn. He became one of my connections and added me on Facebook and saw that I was just documenting my journey. I was not on there selling, I was not promoting my brand, product, or service. I was literally just sharing my day to day work life. And that prompted people to inquire what I was doing, where I worked, what that entailed. And then, thus, by led me to sell memberships. I sold $2 million of an intangible membership in a matter of a year, only leveraging social media. So at that point, I self branded. People knew me as a membership coordinator for this private club. And then I got poached by a tequila company. And they said, "We want you to do what you did for them on social media, but do it in South Florida and do it as our market manager." So I moved to South Florida and relocated, and I became the tequila girl. So same output on social. I am now just telling my story. I'm the tequila girl. I'm doing, tequila activations, buying rounds of shots at bars, doing high profile celebrity activations, putting tequila bottles before it was even cool, before every celebrity backed a liquor product. And so I became the tequila girl. And so throughout my journey, I have always self-branded, and that's what I inspire businesses to do, is to brand and really tell their story on social. So obviously now today on this stage, I am here and have been for 8 years as the founder and leader of Social Behavior, which is a really pink brand. And I have to be on brand even for this presentation. So I still practice what I preach every single day. So with that, we'll be celebrating 8 years in business and in June, and I'm very, very excited to be here and just kind of tell you a little bit about how we do social, because it's different than how other agencies approach it. And to answer any question about my name, Karen, I am not that Karen, not the Karen that, in 2020 was making a stir. So I always like to clarify that. And if you Google Karen Day, I actually led a social media campaign where one of my clients gave away free food. We themed it Karen Day for anyone with the legal name Karen, and we went viral from Daily Mail to Fox News, CNN, on every platform. So you can Google that after my presentation. So I'll just jump right in. I know we were excited and eager to get to this happy hour, so we're just going to power through this. I'm going to talk to you today about the 4 pillars of social media. And I'm going to break them down like this because this is the way that my agency operates. So traditional agencies, traditional PR agencies, when they worked on an account service side, they work as a whole. So you get assigned an account and now you're working it all from content, engagement to ads to influence. We actually have a different approach. We break it all down. We compartmentalize it because some of our clients get content and ads, and some of them get content, engagement, and influence, etc. So we've been able to kind of scale the agency with this model because we have people working in their respective departments where they're good at what they're doing. So the 4 pillars of social, as I will be discussing today, are content, which is just a visual. We talked about content a lot early on in the presentation. Spoke with Andrew after his speech, I thought was phenomenal. But content is a combination of visuals and copy. Okay, and that visual can be video, can be images, can be graphics, can be anything. And your copy is your caption. That caption has to be powerful. You've got to come in with a hot caption in everything you do, because again, we're in the business of making people stop scrolling. So those two things, those 2 things are your starter points. That's how you make people stop scrolling. Now, we're also going to talk about engagement. What is engagement? Engagement is a lot of things, and I'm going to dive into it, but as a whole, engagement is what prompts the algorithm. So it's what tells the machine that you're working and that you want to keep feeding the algorithm. It is a 2-way street. It's inbound and outbound. So inbound engagement is what's coming in, and outbound engagement is how you're managing it and what you're putting out. Now, paid ads are what I call paid engagement. So paid ads obviously allow us to target a lot of specifics, behaviors, demographics, geographical areas, and they create the desired engagement that we want. So if you're not getting that organically, you can do an ad campaign and get paid engagement. Now, we're also going to talk about influence, and you might have a description of what an influencer is in your head. We're gonna tear that up today. We're gonna talk about influencers in many ways. And so, but as a whole, an influencer is someone that creates engagement by endorsing your brand, product, service, or experience using their platform and showcasing it to their audiences. So we'll dive right in and just start talking about content. Now, content as a whole, like I mentioned, is a visual with a copy, with a caption copy. All right. Now, there are many platforms that you can participate in. Maybe we heard the question earlier of what platform should I be in? And the answer was it depends. It definitely depends. And we'll try to kind of, figure that route for you here with this next exercise that we'll be doing. But the platforms on social are obviously Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter, which recently got acquired by Elon Musk, and that was a huge thing. And I was asked to speak on a local news network in my city of Houston about that transaction and what I think it meant for the future of social. And then we also have YouTube, which is now emerging as a popular story type of platform with their YouTube shorts. So I'll talk about that as well. Now, the types of content that you can put out, we talked about this earlier. We talked about, micro content. We talked about on-demand content. We talked about organic content. We talked about UGC. All those are very relevant types of content. The way that I describe it is organic or real-time content. That's content that I'm going to post later on my story of me walking in on this stage. That's organic. That's real-time. People want that. They want to feel connected to me. And there's also staged or produced content. That's content that you can batch, that you can say, I'm going to produce a campaign for Father's Day and for my product. And so you're going to take the idea and the concepts, and you're going to stage and produce that content, and you can batch it out into micro video pieces. You can use it for stories, you can use it for reels, etc. There's user generated content, which is often referred in my industry as UGC. And then there's a new category that's emerging, especially with the great resignation and employees engaged with their employers, which is called employee generated content. I'm actually running an internal campaign for my team to promote my work culture and to promote why working at my agency is fun. In the digital marketing world, professionals are facing a lot of content exhaustion, and especially during the pandemic, we had to reinvent the wheel for social media a lot. And so there's been a lot of turnover, I guess, in agencies like mine. So I like the fact that we've been able to keep our team engaged, and I'm running an employee generated campaign here pretty soon. And that's going to produce content from their side, how they feel working at social behavior is and what that looks like. And obviously, we're going to repurpose that on our channels. You can do that within your own employee network as well. And then there's video, there's two parts of video. There's long format video and then micro video. Micro video is typically allocated to stories, shorts, TikToks, reels, and then long format video. That's more of your YouTube full length programming. And then you can also sponge that audio and then use it for a podcast, which is also, a type of content. So we got the fundamentals down. I think people kind of say, okay, great, I totally understand what content is, and I know all the platforms, and I know all the types of content there is, but what am I going to be posting? And so we teach a class in Houston every month called Instagram Hacks, and we actually do a worksheet. And so you can take a screenshot of this and do this on your own later. But you do want to ask yourself, what kind of content will you post? You want to perform a content intake. And you can do this by realizing your demographic, your target audience, whether that's, people between the ages of 25 to 40, living in suburbs, small families, etc. But you want to really define that. And then you want to take, what are your upcoming campaigns? What do you want to create awareness for? You can always, instead of thinking of content as this long drawn out thing for the year, think about it in a quarterly campaign. Think about it as what's happening in my immediate future. Right now, you should be planning for Father's Day. You should be planning for 4th of July. You should have planned for Memorial Day if you want to run a campaign around that. And this applies to all brands. You can kind of ride the coattails of those big marketable events and phenomenons so that you can kind of create your content around those. But you want to identify what your campaigns are. You want to also identify your community involvement. Like I mentioned, people want to be connected to brands that they care for. And if your brand is never, ever involved in your community, people start to kind of lose that connection and that brand affinity and that brand trust. So I think those are always important key elements to highlight in your content. And then, of course, any seasonal trends in your business. Maybe for the 4th of July, your restaurant always does, a big barbecue. Maybe your apartment community does a big resident event on the 4th of July. You want to always talk about what are the seasonal trends? What have we done every single year? And once you start getting intentional about your content and building out a content calendar, you can actually look at what we did last year and then just enhance it this year. That way you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. Being intentional in your content is kind of doing content smarter, not harder. So you also want to consider any promotional offers or sales that you have coming up. Then you see how you can sprinkle that into your content. And then always, always, always adhere to your brand tone. Really define who you are. Are you going to be funny? Are you going to be memes? Are you going to be serious? Are you going to be corporate? How are you going to define your brand? And the easiest way to do this is a closing question that we do at every new client onboarding, is we ask our clients, what are 3 key words that define your brand? And when they say outgoing and funny and lighthearted or caring, those three brands are going to kind of give me their brand tone. So sometimes I extract that out of my clients by asking them the simple question if they don't have like a formal brand tone or brand identity guide written. Now, the number one secret to content, if you haven't been following along, I'm going to just kind of bring you back to this because I started my presentation telling you about my journey and telling you about what I was doing in terms of my content posting and sharing my story. I was actually telling and not selling. And that is the number one secret, the number one takeaway that you should take away from this part of the presentation is that that's actually the secret to content. So, where we learned earlier in Andrew's presentation, talking about some compelling content, storytelling, that's actually the most powerful type of content, and that's what I've been doing. Later on in the presentation, we'll get to my personal social channels. And if you decide to follow me or even browse through my social pages on LinkedIn and Instagram, you'll see that I'm never ever selling. I'm always telling. And so when we sit down with clients and say, we're going to run a campaign and we're going to do Father's Day and we want to go hard at selling this product, I'm actually going to position the content totally indirectly to that because I want to tell the story about your Father's Day campaign versus tell the story about a product. So our secret, the secret sauce to content is just telling, not selling. So with that being said, content is all about seizing the moment, seize the opportunity. It's all around us. That's why I recorded you guys on my way in. So you don't have to, reinvent the wheel, kind of get, content fatigue. There's always ways that you can align with trending topics, with social trends, with cultural trends. Yesterday was Mother's Day. You had a great opportunity to kind of jump on that. How many of you earned that social media badge by doing a, Mother's Day compelling content? Everyone has a mom or a mom figure. So I think that that's a great way to kind of simplify your approach to content. All right. So I will kind of just wrap the content side up. Always just reminding you, selling, not telling, telling, not selling, being intentional, and combat content fatigue by doing a little bit of content planning. So definitely hope you took a screenshot of this and you can, take your content in an intentional approach and do it this way. And I hope that you can keep up with me after the presentation and let me know how that goes for you. Now, remember that with social media and content, the rules are still being written every single day. So tomorrow, I think that there might be a new platform or there might be a new place for you to place your content, but the narrative, the way that you create it, this doesn't change. This has remained the same for all the years that we've been in business, and I think that it will continue to be this way. I think we're entering into an AR, we're entering into a virtual world, we're entering into the metaverse. So the look of the content might change over the next couple of years, but this will remain the same. Remember that we're always telling, not selling. All right. So the second pillar that I talked about, content, engagement, ads, and influence, is engagement. And engagement is what prompts the algorithm to work. We did all this work. We got our content together. It's about to start going live. It goes live June 1st. You're excited. You're pumped. But if you just think that you're going to drop content on social media and just walk away from it, then you're only a quarter of the way there. You're not even starting to make way for engagement. And so you can't just drop content and walk away from it. Every time I do a post personally on my page, I'm going to sit on a couch or a chair for about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, and engage with people leaving comments. I'm going to do some outbound engagement. I'm going to be responding to messages and just engaging with people, because that's how I tell the algorithm is I want to get engagement on my post. Okay. Now, engagement is what prompts the algorithm to work. And this is where people kind of get stumped or sometimes leave this part behind. And this is where you're actually trying to be most successful, because even if you only post 5 to 10 pieces of content a month, you can be very successful with the minimalist content approach as long as your engagement game is on point. Now, if you do heavy content and low engagement, then you're just going to exhaust your content efforts and you're not going to get a lot of engagement in return, which is then going to lead to content fatigue and you not believing in social media and thinking social media doesn't work. So, engagement is actually a two-way street. It's inbound and outbound. And what does that mean? Inbound engagement is when somebody leaves me a comment, sends me a message, or maybe leaves a review for my store, for my local, restaurant unit, for my brand. That's how people are engaging with me. That's called inbound. Outbound is how I'm engaging with people and or with brands. If I'm a brand, it's how I Instagram gives you a platform where you can actually engage with users. Twitter does the same thing. Facebook does not. You cannot go to Facebook as a brand and start finding, bloggers in your community. You can only do that in Facebook community groups. That's how you engage on Facebook. But Facebook community groups don't like to be marketed to. So you got to use the platforms where you can freely have this highway open for inbound and outbound. And those platforms are Instagram and they are Twitter. And so on those two platforms, you can actually, comment on different users. You can actually create that outbound engagement. So you always want to make good exercise. Maybe you have a dedicated engagement manager on your team or a social media strategist. Make sure that you have them practicing daily engagement where they're actually engaging with people that are mentioning you on their story. If I go to Central Market today and I find a kombucha brand that I really like, I pick it up and take a photo of it. I tag Central Market in my story. Within 5 minutes, Central Market is going to reply back to my message and say, "We're so glad you're here." And they've just engaged with me because I engaged with them. And that lets me know that they're watching what I'm doing, that they're attentive to, when someone's mentioning them on their story. And that makes me feel good about Central Market as a brand. So I will continue to patronize them wherever I am in whatever city. And so that's really the key value of engagement is brands have the opportunity to be responsive to end users. Now, generally speaking, some engagement examples are replying to comments. You want to make sure that all your comments are responded to. Now, if you're an airline, that is a place where people are leaving very derogatory comments and people are there, full time to kind of just manage and weed the good comments, delete, block, message, hey, we're your, they do some CSR activities live in the comment section. Please email us the details of your concern because they're publicly out there saying we're engaging with everything, good or bad, and we want to let users know that we're committed to engaging with their comments and engaging with users on this platform. So, we hope that all your comments are good. I hope that all the inbound engagement that you're getting is good. And you want to celebrate that by replying to your users, by just saying thank you and letting them know that you're a brand that cares. Now, on your DMs, you want to respond to anything that comes in, whether it's a story mention, you want to repost those, whether somebody just sends you a message to your brand saying, "Hey, I checked you guys out at DigimarCon. It was so great to meet you." You want to reply back. And those messages can sometimes be filtered in message requests, which is a hidden section on Instagram for when brands and users aren't following each other. So you want to always check there as well because you want to make sure that you don't miss any messages or opportunities to connect with your audience. Now, you do want to respond to your reviews. We have a strategy in place for our, clients where 1 to 3 stars are kind of addressed with a different approach, very organic, holistic approach, and escalating that to our clients, letting them know, hey, how do you want us to handle this? 4 or 5 stars are always thanked with a custom crafted message. You want to respond to all your reviews. That's also a part of engagement. Now, like I mentioned, you can engage with your audience. You can engage with a new audience. Users can be found via hashtags, via location search, Maybe you're a brand that's traveling into the Chicago DMA, and now you're going to Chicago and looking at all the big Chicago blogger pages, look at all the big Chicago activity pages, look at all the bucket list Chicago page was a page that I interacted with yesterday when I was looking at where to eat dinner. And so you want to make sure that you interact with those big pages and say, hey, we're coming into town. We're at this conference. Hope to see everyone there. And it's a very antiquated way of doing engagement, but it actually generates visibility. And so I like to do an exercise whenever I teach my Instagram hacks class where we do a post and then we practice engagement. And you can just see out of five outbound engagements that you do, you will actually convert at least 2 inbound engagements. And that's in a matter of minutes. So that's where brands can engage with you in a matter of minutes. And all you did was leave a comment, um, send a message, etc. So practice that whenever you get a chance. Even if you do a post after this conference, I encourage you to get all of those engagement tools activated. You can also reply to your user stories, anyone that you're following. Really, the secret and the overall point of engagement is to spark a conversation. That's what I'm trying to get you to do, because brands should be communicated with their user audience. And this is what the users want the brands to do. Once you can cultivate that relationship on social media, you now have an established fan for life, and you're kind of building into that brand affinity. Now, some people ask me, well, what can I do for engagement on Instagram? How can I do engagement on any of the platforms? So let me just give you a little quick hack that I teach at my class. Now, every sticker or button that you have available to you on your Instagram story, whether that's your location, your poll, your Jiffy stickers, your hashtag use, the celebratory stickers to celebrate Asian American Month or Mother's Day yesterday, all of those work in your favor. So the next time you upload a story to Instagram, make sure that you're using all the tools that they give you, because those are tools that they're giving you to help you prompt engagement. Now, how many of you knew that? How many of you are using stickers already? Okay, cool. We got somebody using Jiffies. Okay, so my agency also does Jiffy stickers, and we recently did Jiffy stickers for a local brand in Houston, and they have 1.5 million uses of that Jiffy sticker in a month. And that's huge, huge. And so what's cool about using Jiffy stickers, creating Jiffy stickers, is that you get the back end visibility to kind of measure the analytics of how consumers are using those. So if your brand doesn't already have Jiffy stickers, something else to consider, because now users can slap those on their stories and kind of create that brand affinity. So I went to Central Market, found the kombucha I really liked, tag kombucha brand, tag Central Market. I used the kombucha brand sticker on my story, and now everyone knows what this brand is. And so it creates that lasting impression, that lasting engagement. So definitely encourage you to use all the tools that are available on stories, on really any platform. I think just about every single platform is trying to push out stories or shorts, but they all have different functionalities that you can use, whether it's filters, AR filters, polls, etc. Definitely use those, because that's what prompts engagement. Now, you want to also, if you're trying to kind of launch a campaign, a content campaign, going back to the content. Now we're doing a Father's Day campaign, and you're saying, but I want to make sure I don't leave engagement on the table. So I want to use everything available to me to create engagement for this Father's Day campaign that I'm putting a lot of labor and energy into. You want to promote some engagement for that campaign by doing a giveaway, creating a challenge around it, running a contest around it. That's what creates that inbound engagement. Maybe even having a broadcasted event on social media, announcing that you're going live for that particular event or campaign. Those are just some of the ways that now you can augment the power of that content campaign by activating an engagement campaign to go with it. I hope that this is making sense. I'm going to open it up for questions at the end. So please hold that. And I just want to make sure that you're capturing the whole picture of how you can take that content campaign and now implement engagement campaign to make it really augmented and really enhance the reach of that. So, maybe you're asking yourself, but why do I have to do all this? And why I already did all this work on the content side. Now I got to do this engagement work? Yes, because you're using engagement to enhance your customer experience, to make sure that you're addressing them the way that they should be addressed. They're your social media audience, and your social media audience is your digital net worth. So without them, you have nothing. You want to make sure that you take care of your audience by all the different engagement methods. Now, I want to jump over to influencers. Oh, sorry. I'm going to jump over to ads as we start to kind of wrap up and talk a little bit about ads. So we talked about content, we talked about engagement. Now we're talking about ads. So you got this awesome content strategy. We're going to keep running with Father's Day because that's coming up. It's right here. You better have a content strategy for that next week. That way you can deploy it. You have time to batch your content and then kind of deploy it. Everything that we deploy for on the client side, it feels like we did it that day. So you never want to do anything that doesn't feel like it's not live. Now, nobody knows that we plan our content a month in advance, but our clients know that because we planned it that way. But on social media, everything looks like it's happening in real time. So we are doing this social media campaign, Father's Day. We know we have somebody in the seat that's going to be doing engagement for it, going to be responding to all the comments, going to be engaging with our audience, etc. Now you have the opportunity to create some wider visibility for that by augmenting that engagement by creating an ad campaign. And as I told you earlier, what's an ad campaign on social for us is what we call paid engagement. And so ads are a tried and true method. We've had a lot of talk today about ads and the potential with SEM, PPC. Ads on social media can behave that same way where you set a budget, you set a desirable conversion. What do you want to do? Do you want to get more videos? Do you want to get a customer acquisition? Do you want to drive some leads from this? You can create all of those ad sets using your business manager portal on Facebook or Meta if you want to do an ad on Instagram, Facebook, or you can use the ad dashboard for any platform. You can deploy ads on TikTok, you can deploy ads on LinkedIn. The cost, the metrics, the dashboards are all going to look a little bit different, but they all do the same thing. But you want to remember that when you run an ad, you still want to follow that telling, not selling approach. So when you run an ad and you're running an ad on your creative, select a creative, again, that's compelling, because that's always going to generate more results than a creative that's buy this, look at me, here's an offer. So that's the approach that we take with ads. Now, rising cost of ads and then some privacy law changes over the last few years in the ads world have caused some limitations. And their agencies like us are kind of shifting gears. We're relying more on paid content. We're relying more on influencers. The cost of influencers is sometimes rather cheaper than running a whole ad campaign. But I encourage you to test out your ads. I encourage you to get familiar with the potentials, with the capabilities by setting an ad budget, setting a desired conversion, install a pixel, get some user data. If you don't have a lookalike audience, I encourage you to look into that. A lookalike audience is an audience that's based off of an email list that you have, where Facebook is going to interpret that and say, I have an audience that looks like every single user that uses Facebook with this email address, and get creative with your content. Now, based on that, you run an ad campaign, and I want you to measure the results, because once you measure the results of an ad campaign, that's going to give you a comparable to anything else that you spend on social media. Now, social media budgets have to be carefully allocated. and we have seen as an industry shifts in paid ad budget, brands shifting their budgets more towards influencer because the cost of reach is actually a little bit lower on the influencer side than it is on the ad side. But that's all for you to compare based on running your own campaign and getting familiar with, the ad capabilities that exist out there. I recently spoke with a brand that we actually just took on. It's a small franchise named Checkers. I don't know if you guys know Checkers. They have 40 stores in the Houston market, and they have their own co-op unit because people in Houston don't know them. And when they reached out to us, they reached out and said, we want to do an ad budget, an ad campaign, and we have a budget of $7,000 a month. And I said, pump the brakes, Checkers. Nobody knows you're in Houston. I know Checkers. I worked in South Florida. It's a very big brand on the eastern seaboards in the South. Nobody in Houston knows it. And so we actually shifted gears and got their ad strategy uh, a little bit down and shifted them into doing more influencers, because that's actually going to be more significant for them, especially because they're one of the only markets in the US where they have their own page. Checkers Houston with 39 units. It's the only one of the only co-ops where now they're focusing their efforts because people don't really know the brand there. So in order to establish that brand credibility, we're doing a concentrated campaign in the Houston market. So I said, let's not do $7,000 of ads because that's a shot in the dark. Let's do $2,000 of ads a month just to start. Let's shift some of that budget over to the influencers. We'll measure what we can do at $2,000 a month, and then we'll augment accordingly. But those ads will be run on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So we're gonna have a lot of fun with that account, and a lot of fun doing TikTok ads as well, because they're totally different than any ad we've ever done. All right, so now on to my next topic, which I think is gonna be a topic of conversation that I want to spend a little bit of time on, and then I'll prompt it for questions, and then we'll get over to happy hour, which I personally can't wait for. So, influence, it's a hot topic. I think a lot of, maybe 3 years ago, it's an obscure future for the influencer. Maybe we didn't like the blogger type. Maybe we didn't want them to come to the restaurant. Maybe they were too, difficult to work with. And I think right now, all the brands are at the mercy of influencers, and they're kind of wanting to work with this influencer. I think there's been a paradigm shift in what's happening on the influencer side and the brand side. Now, people often ask me, should my brand work with influencers? I'm an insurance service company. I do financial services. I'm a personal injury attorney. How can I work with influencers? And the reality is that all brands are fit for influencers, because you can still have them create a campaign totally indirectly to what you have, what product you're selling, and you can have them create a campaign with that same approach, that telling, not selling approach. So all brands for us are a fit. Some of my favorite creators on TikTok and on Instagram are creating indirect brand partnerships, and I love to see it because they're interpreting the way that they would use that product based on the way that they would fit their brand on social. And I love how the influencer creator industry is just so rapidly evolving, and how the creators just think about these amazing ideas. I mean, I hope you spend a little bit of time on TikTok after today's session, just to kind of get a little bit of a breath of what I'm saying when it comes to these creators. But there are some real creative talent out there. Now, the demand for influencers is driving up the cost in the creator space. As a matter of fact, influencers created a whole new category. We know B2B, we know B2C, but now they created C2C, creator to consumer. They created a whole new category. So the brands that want to work with these influencers is driving up the cost. It's driving up the demand of the creator space, so much so that my agency opened a new influencer department 2 years ago, right at the start of the pandemic, because we were wondering, how are we going to get people to restaurants when restaurants are closed? How are we going to get, awareness, and how are we going to spark demand for these products and services that are needing our help in such a difficult time? And we leveraged influencers to do so. So 2 years ago, we opened our influencer department, and now we have a full-time department here on the influencer side. Now, influencers historically used to be working for, complimentary experiences, maybe a complimentary meal ticket, maybe a complimentary, you know, swag bag. They would open up their boxes. Look, I got a kit. It's so exciting. Watch me open this. Now they want that, and they want to get paid. And so a lot of brands are kind of scratching their heads like, well, do we work with just one? Should we send a box and money to all of them? And it's a little bit of a brain buster. So you want to make sure that you allocate your budget, that you allocate everything very, strategically, so that you don't overpay and that you are really doing a campaign that's well aligned with your brand and well aligned with the creator. Some creators that are just coming into the social world, maybe are micro influencers, 5,000 followers, they're demanding $500 per post. And you want to make sure that you don't just kind of go out into your influencer strategy blindly. Like I said, be very strategic and don't just approach it with, okay, I'm going to pay her $500, but you could have also gotten an influencer with better engagement, has 2,500 followers for free. So I'll kind of answer some questions around that. If you have any questions around, how to approach them, how to kind of create your influencer strategy, but you want to start there. Again, with everything I've talked to you about social media today, it's been content engagement, ads, they all have their own strategy. So influencers require that same energy. They require a strategy, and you want to make sure that you're building your influencer strategy intentionally as well. Now, historically, brands used to push out a product or an experience or a free meal as a comp to an influencer as a one-time thing. And they would be like, hey, you can come eat here for free. And the influencer would go all out, do one crazy post for them. But then that post would get buried down by the 3 content pieces they post every day, and nobody ever heard about your restaurant or your brand or your product again. So the industry itself is shifting towards an ambassador partnership type of influencer partnership, where now they're saying, hey, you're going to come to my restaurant once a week, every week for the next 6 weeks. And they might pay them for it. And the reason why is because that repetition is key. I promise you, sometimes I post my clients so much, people don't even think that I own a social media agency. They think that I'm the founder of Uberito and Checkers, and that all I do is just run fast food places, because a lot of our clients are fast casual concepts and I'm constantly posting for them. So it creates that repetition. They're more honed in on the fact that I'm always eating, and that, maybe they're like, she's a restaurateur, that's what she does. And really, I don't care as long as they go and support my accounts, but they're really locked into that. So that repetition really magnifies the whole partnership. And that's kind of what you want to seek out. You want to seek out ambassador partnerships, affiliate partnerships. That is where you're going to actually get the most bang for your buck. I talked to someone that's in affiliate marketing today, and affiliate marketing has been around for years, but it used to be just web links, backlinks. Now it's on the influencer side. And Instagram recently rolled out a feature where now you can tag products. Remember when we used to say, go to the link in my bio, or if you like the product that I'm posting about, go to this website and then search my name and then search the product. Who's doing that? So Instagram caught onto that. Now they have taggable products, taggable links, and that's kind of simplified the way that influencers put out content for brands. So, like I mentioned, one-time influencers are now being sought after for longer-term partnerships. They're being sought out as ambassadors. And they're also being sought out as affiliates that earn commissions on the sales. Now, that itself is prompting influencers and these ambassadors or partners to post more continuously, because not only is it creating brand recognition for the client's happy and satisfied, but now they're also making money on the back end of that. And that's really what they want. A lot of these influencers, they spend a lot of time, energy, and effort creating content, and they feel like sometimes that one time compensation, that $50 gift card that you're going to give me on top of eating at your restaurant for free and posting about it, is not significant. But if you have something that they can make residual revenue from, that's actually more attractive to them. And that's what's appealing to them, because the work is being done on the front end anyway to create that creative content. So, you really want to kind of hone in on your strategy, figure out what your budget is, should you be going after, what type of influencer should you be going after, etc. We'll go through the slide just to talk quickly about how influence works, all right? So I gave you the full picture earlier about just influencers at large, but the way that it actually works is that they receive your product or your experience. Now they're going to create a post or content piece promoting your product or experience, and they're going to do it in their own way for their own brand tone, in the way that they speak to their audience. So it's going to be very, very authentic to them. Now they're going to upload that to social platforms, and then they're going to reach their followers, and that's going to create product awareness for your brand or product. And then that sales awareness is going to travel, and it's going to create that impact. Now, what that can create? That can create a customer acquisition. That can create engagement. It can create reach. It can also get you user generated content. So in every negotiation, every contract that we do with influencers, we always make them sign off that the brand can use that content as user generated content, because that's valuable. Now the brand doesn't have to go out and create content, for example, for Father's Day. If you've got a product that's Father's Day themed and you're thinking about creating a Father's Day campaign, go ahead and do a 10 influencer partnership for that product that you're trying to push, and have them create the content in their way for their audience. What that gives you, and give them a deadline to post it, and what that gives you now is user generated content that now you can repurpose. So that kind of alleviates some of that content fatigue and that content creation that you have to put energy into, because now you can rely on them for the content. We recently did a 50 influencer campaign in the Texas market for Cinco de Mayo for a tequila brand, and everyone's post went live on Cinco de Mayo, and it was amazing energy to see that brand just totally boost on their engagement and their reach and the quality of the content that was coming in. But because it was holiday specific, we actually didn't repurpose. We're not going to repurpose that content as much, because we asked them to tag the brand as a collaboration influencer. So that post went on their page and on the tequila brand's page immediately on the day of. And so it all kind of synced up together, because it's holiday themed and holiday specific. So I have no use for Cinco de Mayo content after, May 5th. Until next year, I can repurpose that content. But that was really neat to see it all come together. And so now we can even plan it. You can even plan it that way. Like, make sure that you tag me as a partnership. And what that does for the brand is now the brand can see the engagement on that post. So obviously, product awareness, testimonials, brand representation overall, and measurable conversions. If you attach this partnership to an affiliate code, you can actually measure how it did, how it's performing, etc. So that's the beautiful outcome about influencer partnerships. I will tell you that we recently invested into an influencer CRM. So we actually have 2 CRMs at my agency that we work with. We have 700 local Houston influencers that we work with. So we have them in a separate CRM. And then we recently invested into Clear, which is a meltwater platform, which allows me to coordinate any affiliate. It allows me to kind of take on their product catalog, their pictures, and repurpose that. It allows me to take the analytics from their post, because they signed up for the partnership on that platform. So that's been working out really, really great for us. I will close it out with this. I encourage you that if you are going to take your own approach with influencers and reach out to them directly, that you approach them professionally and with their cost, and then approach them as a business the same way you would as a business. So approach them professionally, because free product trade or free, service or free experience doesn't always work. And sometimes that can be off-putting. So you want to make sure that, you approach them professionally, tread lightly. Sometimes they can tie into cancel culture. Sometimes it can work against you. So if you have access to work with an agency or an agency partner that has those established influencer relationships, that can sometimes be a better outlet for you. Okay, guys, I did not realize that my time was up, but we just hit the clock. So I'm going to open it up for questions. And I really appreciate and thank you guys for having me here today. I hope you get some good questions. And if we don't get to all of them, I'll be out here so you can ask me anything in person. Thank you so much. Okay.
Hi. So earlier, when you were talking about your employees creating the content and doing that contest within your own brand and company, my question is, do they post it on their own personal pages then, or are you collecting that content and posting it as a brand? And what do you think is more beneficial?
Yeah, so I recently got a couple of employee-generated content pieces organically without doing a campaign at all. I'm doing an internal employee-generated campaign where my employees will be asked to kind of share like a quarterly recap of social behavior, what you accomplished, kind of celebrate their wins, what you accomplished at the agency, and whoever post gets the most engagement gets like a prize from me. That can be, I haven't said that yet. That's an engagement campaign that I'm thinking about running. Luckily, I've had some organic engagement just happen from people that are excited about what they do at work. And I'm thrilled about that, because getting organic employee-generated content this day and age is actually very hard. But, employees are like your own influencers when you're working for a company. So to have that organically is great.
So are they posting that to their own individual profiles?
Yes, they are.
Okay,
their
cool.
own LinkedIn, their own Instagram. Like, look, my engagement manager posted how much reach we got and how many followers we have consolidated as an agency. And I was like, that's really cute. And she did that all on her own from just pulling her metrics. I was like, okay. Nice.
All right, cool. Thank you.
I have one.
Anybody else?
He does.
I do.
Okay.
We
got a book?
we wrote it down. We have questions. Okay. Where can you find influencers? I know obviously online on social media, but we have had trouble finding local influencers that have, because we're looking mostly for micro influencers that just have a good command over their audience.
Yeah, so really simple. I would search, if you're looking here in this local area, search Chicago Blogger on Instagram as a hashtag or Twitter as a hashtag, and then just start working your way through that content through what comes up. You're going to get the top posts and you're going to get real posts, and it's going to be a blend of micro and macro, but you're going to have to filter through that. That's what we call farming at our agency. When you get access to an influencer CRM, like the Clear platform that we work with, it actually gives me access to all of Instagram's 900 million creators on the platform already, and then I can filter through that. But that's kind of like a very, like the software approach. The manual hand farming approach is something that we still do at the agency. When we're working, for example, in Checkers, I only want people that live within 3 miles of each immediate location. Yeah. So I still have to go in Instagram manually farm by what high school hashtag they use, by what city, Houston blogger, Chicago foodie, etc. You can still find great influencers that way. All right, anybody else? Yes. Oh, I missed that last time.
Okay, I can wrap my head around using influencers for tequila brand, restaurant. Yeah. You mentioned an attorney or insurance company. How do you utilize an influencer for what would be more dull, quite frankly?
Cool. I got this question last time from a financial services company, and I gave them the idea to kind of create an event. So the Formula One was just happening, Coachella was just happening. Maybe you're Morgan Stanley or a group that doesn't actually advertise directly on social because there are a lot of limitations with that. So what you can do is create an experience for them. So a rooftop party, if there's something happening at a big city, and this is if you're working with a, macro celebrity influencer. If you're just working on a local level, you can still kind of create an experience and just indirectly, don't even tie it in. Like, this is not the Morgan Stanley happy hour. This is the Chicago influencer social hour hosted by Morgan Stanley. So you slap your name on there. They're going to this event, this experience, and now indirectly they're thanking you. And you want to make sure you have all those setups throughout your event. The event tag, you can measure the engagement from a hashtag. So once you have that hashtag activated on a CRM that measures that, or a software analytical company that measures that, you can actually measure the engagement from your event. So just indirect tie-in for that type of stuff. You're welcome. Okay.
You've mentioned a few like milestone days, right? That people can use for campaigns for social media. Do you feel that these milestone days, holidays are like, does it become oversaturated where all companies or all whatever doing something on Mother's Day or Father's Day or whatever day, and do you just drown in it, right? Or does it actually set you apart when you do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that, you want to really be intentional if it aligns with your brand or doesn't. Mother's Day doesn't apply. It does apply to everybody, but it doesn't have to apply to you if your big thing is something completely, different. I think for bars and restaurants, it's nacho day, it's pizza day, it's every day is a day. It can get overly saturated. So you want to just pick and choose and be intentional. I think it doesn't matter if you do ride the coattails of all those days, as long as the content that you create is fire. I think that's what could set you apart. Okay. Anybody else? Nope.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Well, I'll be out there, guys. It was so nice to meet you. Thanks again for having me. This is my social channels if you want to follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, or TikTok. My content varies throughout all those 3 platforms. But it was very, very nice to see you guys today. And thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thanks, Scott.